Hello, Internet, and welcome to Creative Live. This is John Gringo's Fundamentals of Digital Photography 2014 edition. My name is Kenna Klosterman, and I will be hosting today with my bestie, the lovely Susan Roderick. How are you doing this morning, Susan?
Kenna, I am so excellent. I haven't hosted a workshop with Kenna in 6 months, I think.
That's crazy talk.
It is. 6 months, I don't think we've hosted together, and she is my bestie as well, so this is so fun.
Yes.
So excited to be here.
Me too. You might start seeing some lovely differences and new things going on at Creative Live here in 2014. One of which I am so excited about is that we're going to shake up these little pre-shows a little bit more. You may have seen that last week with a couple of the workshops that happened, both here in Seattle and down in San Francisco. So start tuning in at 8:45 because there's always going to be something new and fun and different in the pre-show.
Absolutely. I mean, I think usually for our pre-show, we talk about what we're going to talk about in the workshop, and we talk to our in-studio audience. So we love to get to know our in-studio audience, but Creative Live is such an incredible community. We thought it would be cool to get to know the Creative Live crew a little bit more during the pre-show as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So bringing people from behind the scenes, letting you know how things like how Ken and I got started at Creative Live, perhaps.
Exactly, which is what we want to talk about today. I want to give a little preview, though, on Wednesday. The other thing is that so many of our employees here behind the scenes, both the crew but also all of our staff, are so talented in their own ways. And on Wednesday, we are going to have a little pre-show, a little lesson from our own Kate Haley, who is going to teach you her fundamentals of iPhoneography, because Mr. Gringo is not going to teach that. Mr. Gringo is not into the iPhoneography. But yeah.
Kate Haley is the master of iPhoneography. So if you guys do not know Kate Haley, please check her out online.
Yes, katehaley.com.
katehaley.com, and check out her photography, her iPhoneography. She is one of our best friends and just an amazing photographer. So please check her out.
So Kate has been here just about as long as Susan and I. Susan and I just celebrated our 4-year anniversary here with Creative Live. When we started, it wasn't even Creative Live. It was called Creative Techs. And we love hearing all of your Creative Live stories, all of the here's how I found out about Creative Live. And so we wanted to share our stories about how we found out about Creative Live, which has forever changed the path of our life.
First of all, can we high five 4 years?
4 years!
Yeah, 4
4
years at
years.
Creative Live. It's been an incredible ride, just an amazing 4 years. Best 4 years of my life, actually.
So I love your story because it involves John Gringo as well,
True.
who of course is going to be teaching this class for the next 5 days. So let's start there.
Okay, well, it is a long story. We'll try to keep it a little bit as short as we can, but Ken and I traveled around the world together. Actually, first of all, Ken and I are the original host of Creative Live.
That's
so
right.
We started hosting, the first host that I guess
That's right,
ever
first
did,
on-air host.
On-air host.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
When we first traveled the world together in 2008.
Can't believe it's been that long.
It has been a long time. 2008, 2009, and we were obviously taking photos the whole trip. I think I took 10,000 photos during that trip.
30,000.
Yeah, she took 30,000 photos. So we were really photography hungry, and as we were traveling, we were talking about wouldn't it be great to be able to get a real photography education and really learn, because neither one of us were just weren't technically savvy. We both had artistic eye, but we didn't really know. I personally had no idea what I was doing.
Well, you took all those 10,000 photos with a point and shoot.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Nikon Coolpix. I didn't even know. I didn't have a DSLR. I didn't even own a camera. So when we came back, we were talking about wouldn't that be cool to be able to learn about photography? And Kenna saw a tweet come through from a local photography store, Glazers, saying that there was a free photography class.
Free photography class. and both of us were not working at the time. We had quit our corporate world jobs and wanted to go and explore photography and see if we could become professional photographers.
That was our dream.
And I do want to give that shout out to Glazers, who is just down the street here at Creative Live, because they in fact actually provided us with so much of this gear here, these lenses, in the spirit of free education. I mean, look at that. Wow. I'm looking forward to learning about that lens. But Glazers, you will forever have been the reason that I found Creative Live.
Exactly. So we basically found out about this free photography workshop, and we heard that it was going to be at Art Wolf Studio. Art Wolf is a local photographer here in Seattle, actually world famous photographer, but his studio is here in Seattle. So when I heard that, I was so shocked, because when I first came back from our trip, a friend of mine had taken me to the Art Wolf studio, and I was so blown away by his photography. It was incredible. But I remember seeing on the table in his studio, there was these little flyers about workshops, photography workshops. And there was a guy named John Gringo who taught photography workshops at Art Wolf Studio. Yep. And I can't remember exactly how much they were. I think it was like $300 for a one day. I'm probably totally messing this up, John. But the photography workshops cost money, and they were printed on these beautiful cards. So I took the cards and I put them up on my wall at home. And I said, one day I'm going to be able to afford a photography class. I can't right now because I don't have a job, but at some point I'll be able to afford it. So when Ken and I went to our first photography class at Creative Live, we thought there was going to be 1,000 people in an auditorium.
It was free. It's a free class.
It was free. We walked in and there was literally 4 chairs in the room. And we were the only 2 people in there, I think, that day.
There were these big purple lounge chairs.
Which we still have.
We do still have.
We still have those chairs, bringing back memories. So anyway, the point of my story is that I put these flyers up on my wall at home, and I put them up and I said, one day I'm going to be able to afford a photography class. Well, it wasn't like 2 or 3 months later that we ended up at the Art Wolf studio with this free photography class and learned that John Gringo was going to be teaching a 10 weeks fundamentals of digital photography class, and we were going to be able to take it for free. And it was incredible because I felt like I absolutely manifested by focusing on these flyers on my wall. I manifested free photography education.
It's just so cool. I mean, I had only signed up for Twitter like 2 weeks prior. I didn't know what I was doing, but it's amazing how you can look at your life and these little things twist and turn. So we would love to hear your story in the chat rooms about how you found Creative Live. I think that would be really, really fun to hear everybody's stories. Some people I talk to can't even remember how they found out about it, but it's been quite a journey. Let's talk about your journey throughout these 4 years. 4 years. Let's talk about how we kind of came to be on-air host.
Well, at first I wanted to talk about the fact that this Fundamentals of Digital Photography course, let's get back to this course for me changed everything. I didn't know anything about photography. I bought my first DSLR, I think 2 days before our first class.
Yes,
at Creative Live.
yes.
So I was brand new to photography, and this course set me up for the past 4 years. It basically laid everything out for me. It made me realize so many little details about digital photography that put together create the piece of art. All these little pieces that it's so much to know, it's so much to learn, it's so much to keep track of, that this was the course for me.
Well, I just love that we say this over and over, but anytime you watch the Fundamentals of Digital Photography by John Gringo, you learn something. It doesn't matter how many years you've been photographing. There are so many details, and the way that he animates things and makes you understand them, the number of ahas. I know that I will continue to have, we will get more than one
this week, yes.
ahas this week in John's class, but
absolutely.
It's going to be great.
So kind of back to what we were talking about my journey.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that Ken and I started out as basically super fans, Creative Live super fans. Junkies. We would come into class every day and be like, oh my God, we're 10 feet away from John Gringo. I can't believe this is happening. I can actually touch him. This is so crazy. He's shaking his head over there. But we were super fans. And the fact that we became hosts of Creative Live, it was a random thing. We were in the audience every day. We showed up every day just with our notebooks. We were such Creative Live geeks. And Craig Swanson, who is the founder of Creative Live, one of the founders, he basically said, hey, do you guys want to try? We weren't even on air.
No, we weren't on air. We were just moderating the chat rooms and asking the questions to the instructors, but just with these big headphones and microphones, so we had to hit the little buttons, and then we moved on to those little microphones.
Moving on. But it was basically one of those sink or swim. We were basically super fans. Craig threw us into the fire, and as Creative Live has blown up and developed over the last 4 years, so has the host role, and so has our careers here at Creative Live.
Absolutely.
It's been an incredible journey.
And I think what's really fun, I don't know if any of you have seen any of our old school videos. It's actually the reason that Creative Live hired us on in the first place to be kind of the first social media gals. We started creating what we called Behind the Live, which was we would do these after the Creative Live shows ended. We would start with our cameras with your DSLR. We didn't know what we were doing with video.
We had your flip.
Oh, my flip too,
Yeah.
that's right. But we started doing behind the scenes, and what I love is that this pre-show now is kind of allowing that to come back around, where we're gonna be more casual. We're just going to kind of, again, bring you in to Creative Live. So I'm really excited about that.
And back to you guys telling your stories about how you found Creative Live. New people are discovering Creative Live all the time.
Yeah.
Every workshop, you're like, oh, this is the first time I've been here. Or the last workshop was the first time I ever tuned in, and this is incredible. And you hear people say how it's continually changing their lives.
Yeah.
So the baton is just being passed from one person to another, and it's just awesome to hear the story about how you found Creative Live and how it's changed your life. So
absolutely.
Maybe we can read some of those stories throughout the day.
I think we definitely want to.
Put them in the chat room, and we will collect them and maybe read them off.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have about 40 seconds until we start. Let's run through a very quick intro of each of you in our studio audience, and we'll continue to interact with you guys throughout the week, obviously. So, Joe.
My name's Joe, and I've been shooting for a bunch of years, but I've always wanted to get a DSLR, so this is my first time taking a course. So
awesome.
Perfect class for you.
I'm Dina Duval, and I'm a total amateur, but I love taking pictures. I travel a ton, but usually when I'm traveling, I'm on a pair of skis or I'm on a bike, so I end up with a point and shoot. And my wonderful Nikon D7000 gets put on the shelf, and so I still don't know how to use it properly, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, yes,
class for you as well.
Yes, by the end of the week, then you're going to have to go out and do it with what you learn, but this is the class.
My name is Melissa, and my husband and I have a business called Rogers Real Estate Photography. He does the pictures, I do all the post-production, and I figured it was time to actually learn how to take a picture.
Awesome. Cool. Mel.
I'm Mel, known as Blue. A lot of people know me as Blue, if you can tell.
Your eyes, by the way, are so gorgeous and blue. I can see why.
You can find me at True Blue Images on Facebook or Twitter. And I just love photography. I have a passion about it that's, I could care less if I ever get paid for it. As long as I can shoot, I'm happy.
So great.
So.
Fantastic. Well, you guys definitely represent a good representation of the folks who are out there online. So we look forward to your questions throughout the course, as well as your questions out there. We've got Nikki, who is moderating the chat rooms, and so she'll be passing those along. So let's get started, Susan.
Okay, but before you do, can I give you a hug?
Aww.
Happy 4-year anniversary.
How cute is she? Thanks, Susan.
All right, take it away, Kenna.
All right, I'm going to do the intro while you go check in with the folks online. All right, everybody, welcome to Creative Live. I'm just going to take you through a quick tutorial about how to watch today's class, how to ask questions and chat, and how to purchase anytime access to this course. On any page on the Creative Live website, you can see what is playing. We have 24/7, this is brand new, started at the end of last year. You can watch something at any time in each of our new 5 channels here at Creative Live. So the way that you'd find what is playing from anywhere on the site is to go up to the top left. There is a Watch Now button, and you can select which course to watch. You can then purchase anytime access. Like I said, this course is $149. However, when you purchase it during the workshop itself, it is $99. That gives you anytime access to all of this workshop, all 5 days. Break that down to 5 days. It's an incredible value. I think there are almost 2,500 slides in this workshop. This is going to be incredible. Let's take a look at where you can interact with us here during the Creative Live experience. During the live experience, you can click on that chat button. It's going to pop open a new window for you, and this is where you can be part of our social classroom. There are 3 tabs across the top. Let's talk through each of them. The first one, or one of those tabs for you, is the off-topic discussion area. This is the Creative Lounge. This is where, Creative Live is community focused. This is where we want you to get to know each other and have fun. Have all of your off-topic discussions there in the lounge. For on-topic discussions, you want to be in the Creative Live tab, and this is where we will be having you talk about everything related to the fundamentals of digital photography, everything related to lenses, to cameras, everything that John is going through. You guys can share on-topic information there in the Live tab. And finally, we have the Creative Cues tab. This is the chat room for you to ask your questions for John. Now, we're going to be taking a lot of different Q&A sections throughout the day. We've got Nikki in the chat room. She's helping us collect those questions, and we will pass them along again when they're on topic. So we'll save those questions that we know are going to be coming up throughout the workshop during the day. Okay, everybody, once again, this is the Fundamentals of Digital Photography 2014 edition with Mr. John Gringo. The way that Creative Live works is we broadcast live events for free. These are the ones that you can participate in. You can ask your questions during the social classroom. You can also choose to purchase anytime access to all of the course videos. This class is super comprehensive, and if you've taken any Creative Live classes before, you know that it is very hard to comprehend and take in everything at once. We hear a lot of people saying that their heads are exploding with information. Well, with the number of slides we got here with John Gringo, that is going to be you as well if you can stay with us the whole day. If you can't stay with us the whole day, that again, the whole 5 days, that is why we give you anytime access to the course for $149. If you buy it during the class this week, during the live event, you get the live event discount price of $99. Let's take a look at the course page itself. This is where you will find all of the information, all of the course content for the fundamentals of digital photography. We highly encourage you to enroll for free if you have not already. We'll talk about a little bit later about what you can get when you enroll for free. Again, right here on the course page is where you can purchase anytime access. Add that to your Creative Live account right there. Bonus materials for a class you will find there at the top of the course content. And then you scroll down below that, and this is where you will find all of those videos. We break them out into bite-sized chunks so that you can find what you are looking for. The cool thing is that you can stream directly, again, from the Creative Live website when you purchase that anytime access. Right there on the course page, you can stream that, you can pause, rewind, and get to what it is that you're looking for. We are doing a contest this week during John's class. And the way that you're going to find out more about this contest is to go to Creative Live's Facebook page and click on the green icon there that says contest. This is going to be a quote contest, and we are going to have you listen for your favorite John Gringo quote or tip. Then you're going to go to that Facebook page and enter it in there. We're giving away Creative Live education. If you once a day, we'll announce the winners tomorrow for today and so forth. Somebody will be winning $149 to go towards any Creative Live class that you want. There are so many photography classes out there. Right now we're learning about the fundamentals itself, and then there's a ton, obviously, of other classes. Check those out, pick out which one you want, and that you're gonna apply that $149 to if you are the winner. So it is time, everybody, it is time to welcome to the stage Mr. John Gringo. Everybody, please help me with a big round of applause. John, you get a hug, come on.
Ah, yes.
John Gringo is one of the core instructors here at Creative Live. John, do you know how many courses you've taught here?
I've tried to remember. The problem is that they kind of discontinue old ones, so they're not all on the list. It's 25 or higher, but I'm trying to figure out how many broadcasts, because we had remember the John Gringo photography show for a while?
I do.
And
that
there was
is
a whole bunch of
old
those.
school. I remember back in the day, John, when I first found out about you, and you went to Antarctica, right?
Right.
And you did a broadcast, or you were trying to do a broadcast, a John Gringo show from there.
Right. Well, I was trying to upload videos, and I was shooting all this stuff with my new camera that shot video, and I was shooting it HD, and then I was resing it down and down and down, and I was trying to get it across the phone lines, and it eventually was just this little tiny video.
I do remember that, but you're like on a boat,
Right.
and it's in the Arctic, or Antarctic. So, John, let's do this. We've got a lot of content to get through.
That's right.
And I'm just so excited that Susan and I are the hosts, at least for the first 3 days.
Yeah.
And we might as well talk about it right now. You and I have a big announcement on Wednesday.
That's right.
Big announcement. That's all you get.
Yeah, that's all you get today. Tomorrow you get another little tidbit, and then Wednesday, big announcement. So tune in early on Wednesday.
That's right. All right, everybody, let's do this. John,
Great.
over to you. Got
Thank
the
you.
clicker over there.
Yep.
All right.
All right, welcome to the Fundamentals of Digital Photography. My name is John Gringo, and if you want to learn photography, if you want to be a better photographer, if you want to take better photos, you're in the right spot, because we have a great class in store for you. Now, I've taught a lot of classes here at Creative Live, and I teach a bunch of different classes on a regular basis, but I have to admit I am a little particularly excited about today's class. There is a number of things that are going on that are very fun and interesting. They were reminiscing earlier about kind of the old days, and I'm celebrating a 25th anniversary. It was 25 years ago I took my very first photography class. And I was in college, I needed to get some art credits, and it seemed like a reasonable way to take some art credits. And I totally loved it. It was awesome. Now, those of you who kind of know my backstory know that I started shooting pictures when I was 10 years old. And I had a lot of fun in grade school. I was like the only kid bringing a camera to school. And I was shooting pictures at the cross country and the track meets. And I just thought, that was all there was to photography. I was just out having fun. And then when I started learning photography, I realized that when you don't know what you're doing, it kind of doesn't count. Because right now I look back at 25 years, and that was the real starting point for me. And it led to me taking more and more classes. I ended up getting a degree in photography, photojournalism from Oregon State University, and I've been pursuing photography ever since then, and I've been very, very happy about it. Now, another anniversary that I'm going to be celebrating this year, and that is 5 years ago, almost to this week, I taught, well, two things. I taught my very first class, because I'm not trained as a teacher or educator, taught my first class, and it was the first presentation of what is essentially this fundamentals class. And I worked so long and hard. Just kind of as a word of warning, I tend to over-prepare if possible. I prepared just long and hard for this class, and I came in and I was like, this is going to be the best class ever. Because what I had done is I sat down and I decided to try to come up with a new approach to teaching photography, different than the way I was taught, because there was new technology and tools out there to use. And I put together a class that I thought was the bomb. I thought it was the best. And the students liked it, but I came out of it just going, oh man, I'm going to have to tear this thing up and redo it. There were sections that just needed a lot of work. And I still continue to teach these classes almost every week, every other week, every week or so. And when I take a class, I have a notepad and a pen over here where I'm like, that can be better. And I'm constantly improving this class. This class is never fixed and done. It's always improving and getting better. And I'm really happy right now because the hard work is done. The class is put together. I went through just an insane November and December. I was working 70 hours a week putting this class together. It's very, very time-consuming to put these things together, so I understand why there aren't other people out there with these classes. It's just very time-consuming. But it's in a really good spot, and I can say absolutely this is the most current, up-to-date class I have. It's got the best graphics, best illustrations, best-looking photos. I've even gone back to earlier photos, redeveloped them with new eyes, new software, and new skills. I'm glad I shot raw. And so this is going to be my best class ever. So I think it's something that you're really going to enjoy. Now, let me address the name of the class, the Fundamentals of Digital Photography. And if we can get the keynote flipped over to my keynote with the title slide, that would be great. So the Fundamentals of Digital Photography, I like as a name because it's truthful, it's honest, it's what it is. What I am a little bit afraid of is that somebody who has experience, and everybody has experience. A lot of you have professed to being kind of beginners, but you've all shot a lot of pictures. All right, and I find that there's a great reluctance to saying, oh, I'm a beginner, I've never shot a picture, I don't know anything. Everyone seems kind of like they're, well, I'm more intermediate level. They immediately want to get beyond that beginner level. And this class is going to have a lot to offer people who have been in this for quite a while. It seems like no matter how long you've been in photography, there is still more to learn. And that's one of the great things about photography, is that when I teach classes, as last weekend I was teaching classes, I had kids in there that were 13 years old. And I have some people that are 70 and 80 years old. It's something that you can continue to get better at as you get older. And so it's something that's very equal opportunity art form, which is what I love. Now, I think this class is great for beginners. If you are a total beginner, this is the perfect place because we are going to very carefully go through each of the steps. For those of you with intermediate or advanced levels, okay, we're going to go through some of the basics, but we're going to go through them in maybe more depth than you have before, and I have lots of more advanced stuff. I have a whole section on tilt-shift lenses, and I totally realize that 99% of you will never shoot with a tilt-shift lens, but maybe you'll rent one. And it's just good background information that's going to support your photographic knowledge. I'm going to tell you how to micro-adjust your lenses. Anybody here micro-adjust their lens? Probably not so far. All right. So I'm going to have plenty of more advanced sections for those photographers that are looking to squeeze just that extra little knowledge out of what's going on. Now, I'm going to go negative. All right. I'm going to go negative right now. I'm talking for 5 minutes. I'm going to go negative, and I'm going to tell you who this class is not for, because I realize there's some people at home that are watching, and this class is totally not for you. And I want to tell you right now, so that you don't write me emails telling me how bad a teacher I am because I didn't teach what you wanted. Okay, number one, this is not a business of photography class. If you're looking at starting a business and you're trying to figure out a good business plan and financing, we're not going to do any of that in here. Okay, we are strictly talking about taking the best pictures we can. Now, let's see who it's not for. Okay, you probably all have cameras with video, right? Video is great. We're shooting video right now. I love video, but we're not going to do video in this class at all. It's a whole nother class. Now, I will say that if you are interested in shooting video, you would be wise to have a really strong background in still photography. So this class will be a good base for that, but it's not a video class. It's not a highly specified class. We're barely going to touch on portraits. We're not going to talk about what size softbox you need in your studio. It's more those basic fundamentals that you're going to use in any type of photography that you go into, whether you shoot sports or portrait or architecture or who knows what. This is the base level that you want to have. This is the class that's got the stuff you are expected and supposed to know. And so it's not for that. Let's see, anybody else it's not for? Oh, it's not good for people with really short attention spans. I find that there's a generation of people now that don't even click on 5-minute YouTube videos because that's too long. Who has 5 minutes to watch a video? And so if you are right now rushing to your sister's wedding and you told her you were going to photograph it and you don't know anything about photography, I don't think I'm going to be able to help you out in the next 10 minutes. This is a long class. We're probably going to have 24 hours of information in here. And I need your patience because I've been teaching this for a while. I know pretty well how long it takes to explain a certain topic, and I want to do it right. I want you to do it right, and that's going to be a bit of a theme for this class, is doing it right. All right? So what I would like to do is I'd like to give you all a preview of the whole class, because it's a big one, and I kind of want to give you a hint of what we're going to be doing here. So we'll step over to the giant monitor and hope that the clicker is working, and really hope that I have the right clicker.
Try the green button. The green button.
And we'll try that, okay. And there we go, it's working, thank goodness. Okay, so
It's
we've
a new
broken this
clicker.
class into 10 sections. The first section, we're going to get right into it. We're going to be talking about the different types of cameras. And I don't know that in my 25 years of serious shooting, that there has ever been so many good choices on different types of cameras. And so you really need to understand this. Also because they are changing, and the cameras that you shoot with now are likely to be different than the ones you shoot 5 years down the road. We'll be talking about kind of the heart and soul of photography, which is the moment, capturing the moment, shutter speeds, and really understanding. And everyone seems to understand a little bit. Well, I understand cameras have shutter speeds, but photographers draw a big distinction between 1,000th of a second and 100th of a second. And if you don't know that difference, you will in a short period of time. And then there's a whole bunch of other sections within the camera itself that we'll be talking about. Section 2 is a bit of a continuation of this talk. 20 years ago, we would be talking about different types of film. But nowadays, it's the sensor, and there's a lot of different sensor sizes, and there's a lot of discussion as to, well, what's the best sensor for me? We're going to talk about how the pixels gather light, and then the ISO settings on our camera, how, when, and where to set that. Section number 3, okay, folks, this is one of my favorite sections, the lens. And we're going to be talking about lenses, and if you have not seen the table over here, we have let me just quickly, there's over $100,000 worth of lenses on this table. So please don't bump into this table, okay? This one lens right here is $20,000. And somebody in Seattle is not allowed to go out and shoot birds because Glazers Rental has loaned it to us for the day. So thank you, Glazers. So we'll be, come on, set there. Okay, we put it right there on the end so it is very close to the edge. So we're going to be talking about all these different lenses, and I don't know, maybe we'll have to go out and shoot with them. That would be kind of fun after class. Okay, so we'll be talking about all the different focal lengths, the apertures. We'll be going into apertures, depth of field, and then I will also have kind of my more advanced sections. I have a fun section on fisheye lenses, and then I will have one on tilt-shift lenses. And once again, I realize most people aren't going to shoot with a tilt-shift lens, but it's fascinating, it's interesting, and I think it's good base knowledge to know.
John Gringo?
Yes.
Can I just interrupt here? Because we talk about John's slides and how incredible they are and how much time he puts into these. Did you, on that last slide, when the last camera came up, did the lens tilt shift?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
I see that?
Yeah. Well, I thought, well, I want to show how the movement
I
is.
know. So pay attention, everyone, to the details of all of these slides. It's incredible.
I think we forgot to prepare people for the enormous immensity of the John Gringo slideshows.
I like that word, Susan, the enormous immensity.
The enormous
Awesome.
immensity of
I just
the
had to point that out because you'll find all...
I'm glad that somebody appreciated that, because at one point I was sitting down, I'm going like, ooh, wouldn't that be cool if that just moved a little bit? And I'm thinking, okay, I got to take the cameras, I got to go back in the studio, I got to reshoot it all. It's going to take me about an hour to make this, but it's worth it because now we really
That's right.
milked it. We milked it for all it's worth.
I saw it. All right,
Excellent.
thanks.
Okay, so section 4 is the exposure. And here what we're going to be doing is we're going to kind of be taking all the knowledge that we went through in stages 1, 2, and 3 and really putting it together. And so we'll be talking about the light meter and light gathering and the histogram and how to set the different modes. If you've been setting your camera in that little green camera box mode, or you've been scared to leave P, we're going to definitely get out of that. And we're going to set up a lot of different scenarios where we choose shutter speeds, apertures, and ISOs. And we're going to be talking about why you would select this and why you would select that. And that day, we are going to have a fun in-class game show where you get to play a little game of guessing how to set the camera for the right settings for different types of pictures. All right, next up, section 5. This is where the geek in me comes out in the focusing section. One would think, how can you spend 2.5 hours on focusing? But there's a lot of different things involved in getting the best focus possible. We'll be talking about focusing points and focusing modes, the sharpness on lenses and how to get great depth of field and shallow depth of field. Very important class. Section 6 deals with light. Photography, of course, its own definition is the writing with light. And so understanding the qualities of light and how to control it and how to work with it is very, very important. This is one of the longer sections as well. We will be talking about on-camera flash and getting that camera off camera. It's not a full studio class, that kind of goes off into its own place, but we're just going to kind of get you started in that direction. Section 7, this is a lot of other people's favorite section, the gadget bag, because yes, in photography, we've got a lot of gadgets, and this is where we get a chance to talk about and explain them. So we'll be talking about all the filters and tele-extenders and tripods and all sorts of other stuff, and so there's a good chance for you to ask your questions and get this all taken care of. Now this is the brand new section. This is the art of editing. This is a class or a talk that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. And we're going to be going into talking about everything you are supposed to be doing after you shoot. Now, this is not specifically software based, but I will be referencing Adobe Lightroom on a lot of this. This is the most common software out there, Adobe Lightroom, and so I'm just going to be referencing it, but if you don't use it, I'm not going to be giving specifics on it. It's more, here's where you would make it lighter, here's where you'd make it darker. And we'll be talking everything you need to do in here. And the approach that I'm taking that's a little different than most people is a lot of times you'll see a Lightroom class. And they're very helpful when you get a program because I want to know, well, how does this work? How do I import photos? And in this class, I'm not worried about how. I'm worried about why. Why would I do it this way? Why would I use stars to rate my images? And so it's a little different approach, and I hope you like it. Section 9, we get into composition. So we're leaving the technical side behind, and we're going to be talking about very simple basics to start with. We'll be talking about how the point of view and angle of view affects things. We'll be talking a little bit about cropping in here. And then we have a nice little panorama section if you're interested in doing stitched panoramas. And then kind of as a bonus, I didn't know where to throw it, I talk about time-lapse photography a little bit. So that's in this section as well. Section 10 is a continuation of Section 9. In this, we'll be talking about subject placement, sharpness from an aesthetic point of view rather than a technical point of view, and then getting into the elements of design. And we're going to end this all off with a section that I call the photographic process. And for a lot of people, this is their favorite section, which I find very disturbing because this is where I show you my bad photographs that led up to good photographs. And I kind of walk you through my both technical process and my thought process of, well, this is what I saw, and so I shot a picture. And that led me to this one, which led me to this one, to this one, to this one. And you can kind of look at that process and go, oh, I would have stopped after the first picture and not got that good picture. It's how to keep working the scene until you get the right shot. And so that's our 10 sections that we're going to go through. And at this point, we need to pause and address a major issue that's going on right now. Well, there's some folks at home. Where's my at-home audience? Where's my live camera? There we are. Okay, I know you guys have a question. And some of you are thinking this, and I know you're thinking this. The in-studio audience, I'm not worried about you guys. You guys have already checked off you're okay with me, all right? But it's these folks at home that I'm a little concerned about because some of them are asking the question, let me get it right. Let me get it right. A little telepathic power here. Okay, they're asking this question. Is this class a huge waste of my time? Wouldn't I be better just grabbing my camera and going outside and shooting pictures? Isn't that how you get good in photography? By actually shooting pictures? Why should I waste my time in a class? And I know you're thinking this because I go to the internets and I read articles and I like the comment sections because that gives me an insight to what people are thinking. So I went to a very popular article, our website had an article about online photographic education, kind of like what we're doing here at Creative Live. And there was all sorts of the typical comments, but there was one comment that stood out. Would you like to hear it? Okay, so I'm not going to read the entire, in fairness, I'm not reading the entire, but I'm reading what in reference to online photographic education. And this is by Shield 3. What are they hiding behind? Okay, what is sort of funny to me is the fact that most of us are all shooting digital now. True. It's not like it costs us anything to delete photos. In other words, teach yourself by doing and practicing. Shrug. I like the smug shrug. Okay. First off, I do admire the attitude of go out there and get it done. All right? Let's think about how this works. Okay, I'm Know-Nothing Joe. Oh, whoops, not Joe. John. I'm John Nothing. And I go out there with my camera and I take a picture. Oh, that's a terrible photograph. Delete. Okay, what do I do now? Let me ask you a question. When life hands you a problem, does it also hand you a solution? No. Now, the way I think about it is that photography has been around for about 200 years now. We're getting close to the 200-year mark. And in that time, there have been millions of photographers who have had millions and millions of problems, and some of them have figured out solutions. And they've been sharing it with each other in books and workshops and online and everywhere else. And there is this huge body of photographic knowledge. And photography, if you haven't figured it out so far, is basically problem solving. You're out in the field, well, this isn't right. Well, how do you solve that problem? Well, there is information out there to solve it, okay? And it's been kind of my quest for the last 25 years to keep accumulating my own knowledge. And I would call myself a photographic information hoarder, but I like to share the information. I like to explain it and share it with other people. And so you don't need to go reinvent the wheel, all right? You can stand on the shoulders of giants, use that information, and take your photography very quickly to a much higher level. Now, I will be the first to admit that simply watching this class is not going to make you a great photographer. You have to get out there and practice. You have to get out there and shoot and practice the things that we do in this class. For people who are new to photography, you need a mix of classroom time and field time. The more you shoot, you'll probably be shooting more in the field, gaining experience there, but you still need to come back to the classroom every once in a while. I take Creative Live classes all the time. I download and I watch classes, and at this point, I'm just looking for that little nugget that I didn't know before, that one person. And every teacher has something new, a new way to present it, so there is a value in taking a class. Now, the other question is this the right class? Well, I don't know. But I will tell you that my style is a little bit different. I am very, very visual. The worst part about my entire 5 days is right now, because I'm up here and I'm not relying on that screen. And normally that's where everything is. Right now I'm kind of like trying to pull up everything out of my brain to make sure it comes out in the right way. And so my style is very visual. And I would like to test in studio audience, and I would like Kenna and Susan to participate because they have not done this before. So I want you to participate, and I want you to participate as well. And at home, I would like you to participate as well. And I know what you're thinking, because I've been at home and I'm like, they're doing something goofy in class, I'm not going to do it. It's stupid. Trust me, you want to do this. It's going to explain something about yourself, and if you don't do it, it'll be too late when it's done. Okay? You guys ready? All right, so I need you to put your hands out in front like this. All right. Now, I need you to take one finger. Take one finger, and I want you to touch your nose with it. Right there. That? Got that? Okay, I'll put it back out. Now, take two fingers over here, and I want you to put it right on your chin. Okay? Got it on your chin? I want it on your chin. Okay. Did you put it on your cheek, or did you put it on your chin? Okay, so how many people put it on their cheek? Okay, when somebody did this to me, I put it on my cheek because I learn visually. Most people get most of their information visually. So if you put it on your cheek, this class is really for you. Now, if you put it on your chin, nice job. You were listening to what I said, and for you folks, I am going to speak very, very clearly for the entire class. So I think it's going to be good for everybody. Now, as I said, I take Creative Live classes all the time, and let me just give you my tips on how to take a Creative Live class. I like to set aside a chunk of time to concentrate on that class. And I know it's really, really tempting, and I know there's a bunch of you at home right now, and you've got me in the little tiny screen at the corner. And this class, as soon as we get going on the keynote, it wants to be a full screen class. I got lots and lots of visuals. Almost everything I have something working on screen. To the best of my knowledge, this class is pixel perfect and timed to the 10th of a second. And so set aside that time, go through it, mark the sections that you think would be valuable to come back to. When I was getting started in photography, okay, this is terrible to admit, I would read the instruction manual when I got the camera. I would set it aside, I would go out and shoot for a few weeks, I would come back, I would go through the manual again, looking for that other bit of information that I read, but I didn't really process. And then I would set it aside and come back 6 to 9 months later to kind of get that last little nugget. Ooh, did you know the camera can do this? And that solves this problem. And so sometimes you do have to come back to this material time and time again. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to check back in with you to see if there's how we're doing, and for me to get a drink of water.
All right, John. Well, I just want to share some comments of people that have been in the chat rooms talking about you and your courses. And I find that there are a lot of people out there that feel the same way about you that Ken and I do.
That's right.
That you are a game changer for them. So Tough Toodle, who is one of the regulars here on Creative Live and has been for a long time, said, John Gringo, 2013 was my very first class last year, and I only just bought my first DSLR at the time. I have come so far with Creative Live and John's advice in 1 year. I can't wait for this year's class. So very cool. Lady Hawk, who is another regular on Creative Live, says, I've watched every John Gringo fundamentals class and I love each one. Super fan too. Another regular on Creative Live, Cannon Girl, said, just have to say, John the Gringo Man is my all-time fave here on Creative Live. So really, really cool.
Awesome. I also saw you called John the Genius as well. So a lot of new folks coming in and a lot of people who have been around for a while. So John, a lot of people are asking, and Tara D has asked, for those who have seen your earlier fundamentals of digital photography, whether it was 2013, 2012, how is this 2014 version going to be different? And then she says, in parentheses, not that I have any problem with watching anything and everything John Gringo puts out, but I'm just curious.
Right. That's a good, valid question. So obviously the big section is, I believe it's section 8, which is the art of editing, which is 100% new. That's totally new information. I spent about 2 months over the summer putting that class together, and I think it's going to be a very good, helpful section for a lot of people because there's a lot of questions on that. Other than that, the basic concepts and topics haven't changed. I don't know if you know, but shutter speeds haven't changed in the last year. The basic concepts of composition haven't changed. I've added photographs, and I have a surprising number of what I call micro improvements. Every once in a while, I would come up with an idea of, ooh, you know what would be kind of nice? It's just a little tiny little section in here, just 2 or 3 slides, a couple 2 minutes of something. And it was really nice because I prepared this class just right. I finished it completely about 2 weeks ago. And then what I do is I just kind of set it aside, and then I can come up with one little idea now that my brain is free off of the other tasks. Ooh, I'm going to add that. And so I keep adding little things. In fact, I just added a little something just a couple days ago that I didn't even know that was going to be in the class. And so they will notice that some sections have all these little adjustments. There are some sections that are virtually identical, and that's just because it hasn't changed. I can only attack so much. But I have put more time into preparing this class than I did creating the first one or any other improvement or upgrade so far.
That is the truth, because John and Susan and I are all friends, and so we've seen that hard work going into this. And again, I'll probably be saying this a lot, but almost 2,500 slides, right, John?
2,497 slides in the class.
How many of those are animated, do you think?
I would say, well, there's a lot of photos. There's over 1,500 photos, and those aren't animated. Well, most of them aren't animated. So I would say almost everything other than the still photographs have something moving or going on.
That is a crazy amount of work. All right, let's do it.
Okay, so the first thing that I like is when I get started on something brand new, like I learned how to ride a motorcycle a few years ago, and it's really nice when somebody goes, okay, here are the things that are just really important before you get involved in this. And so here's my advice. I'm pulling you aside just before you get into this. If you want to become a photographer, and you're not just a photographer, you want to be a good photographer, right? Well, there's a few things that you need to know. First off, you need to learn the fundamentals, and well, we're going to address that obviously right here. Secondly, you need to learn how to operate your camera. And there are many, many different types of cameras, and we do not have the opportunity to address each and every camera style in this class. I'll mention it later. I do have classes that work specifically on individual cameras, but you need to know your camera the way a race car driver needs to know that car that they're racing in, because it's one with you in your shooting. You need to learn how to see like a photographer, and this one takes time and experience. And what I have done, one of my little secrets of being a photographer, is I love looking at photographs. And I'll look at anyone's photographs. I love looking at them. And the thing that comes to mind when I look at a photograph, it's not whether I like the photograph or not. And this is a little bit selfish, but I look at the photograph and I ask, would I have thought to shoot that picture? And every time I say, wow, I've never even thought of that, that is a mind-expanding experience. That's good for photographers to be expanded to all the different types of photography out there. And so that's why I have a lot of photographs in here, is that hopefully it will inspire or give you some idea as to what would work in your type of photography. Number 4, you need to learn the field skills of the particular genre that you are going to be in. Sports photographers, studio photographers have a whole different world that they deal with. And we're not going to really be able to address that in this class here. But that is something that you're going to need to acquire through either other classes or experience or mentors who are experienced in what you want to do. And then finally, you do need to get out there and shoot, 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 as I mentioned before. The more you get out there and shoot and practice, the more you will learn. Now, the information that you're going to need to know about, there's this kind of mound of information, as I mentioned, there's this big pyramid in here. The foundation of knowledge is kind of interesting because it runs the gamut of very technical to very artistic. And my guess is that if I had everyone in this classroom, for your students, if I said, sit over here if you're technical and sit over here if you're artistic, you would probably know which part of the room you should be in. Most people kind of like, yeah, I'm more this or more that. And you're going to have to get good with the other, okay? So this is a balancing act because you need both. Now to start with, we're going to be on the technical side. So that's just the way photography is. It's based on a technology. So we have to have good focus, we have to have good exposure, and so that's going to be a lot of what we talk about for the first couple of sections. And this, of course, is going to involve your shutter speed, your aperture, and ISO. And this is something that you should know super, super well. Forwards and backwards, everything about it. Next up, all these little camera details. We'll be talking about a lot of this today, actually. You know, the focusing point, well, we'll get into the focusing points in the focusing section, but there's just a lot of little details about how your camera works, and it's mostly technical stuff. Now, where we start getting into the artistic side of things is your choice and use of lenses and depth of field and working with light. We have technical sides where we could talk about guide numbers and softbox size and things like that, but also just the general look of the image and how it appears to the eye. Definitely more on the artistic side is timing and composition. We'll be talking quite a bit about composition. Timing is a little bit more associated with the particular genre that you are in, whether it's dealing with light and a landscape photographer or sports photography and shooting pictures at those best moments. But if you want to take great pictures of anything, you need to have a really good knowledge of that particular subject. Bird photographers, they know birds really well. Professional sports photographers, they know their athletes. At the Olympics right now, there's probably a bunch of photographers scouting out the ski slopes. Where am I going to be? Oh, so-and-so always makes a wide turn on this one particular gate, and they know where they're going to be and how to set up. And so knowledge of what you want to do. And we all have areas of expertise in our own life. There's certain places that you know, there's people that you know, there's groups that you are associated with and you have access to, and that's where you're going to get pictures that other people can't because you have more knowledge than anyone else on those. The camera. All right, so we're going to get right to the good stuff here. We're going to be talking about cameras and all the different things that we need to know about in the camera. First off, we're going to be going through camera types. There's a lot of different types of cameras, and it can be very confusing to somebody who doesn't know cameras real well because there's just so many options. We'll go through shutter speeds and camera details. So let's get right in to camera types. So there is 4 different ways that cameras are generally categorized and have been categorized for many, many years. The first one of these is the image area. This is the size of the sensor. We'll be talking more about this in section 2, but we've had this for many, many years. We've had medium format cameras, we've had large format cameras. Anybody remember the disc cameras? We've had a lot of different size sensors over the years and film as well. The viewing system is very important. And this is often how we categorize our cameras. For instance, SLR refers to the viewing system in the camera. Next up is the lens system. What lenses are available, what will work with it, and then finally the shutter system. There's different types of shutters in modern cameras and traditional cameras, and that affects the capabilities of the cameras. And so we're going to look at these 4. Now first off, I just got to give you a little preview. This is kind of a preview of section 2 of the class. When you go to the camera store, you look at cameras online, there's going to be a lot of different choices out there. And, you know, it really killed me to throw the phone in there over on the right-hand side. But I do realize, and I fully admit, that that is how a lot of people are shooting pictures these days. And so the size of the sensor in the camera has a big determination on the quality of the pictures that you can get and the type of pictures that you can get. The largest of these is based off of 35mm film. That was the standard for many, many years. For the basic reason is that it was just that perfect Goldilocks size of a camera that was big enough to make a poster and small enough that you could hang around your neck and travel with it nice and easily. And so that's why that was so popular. And now we have sensors that are that size and a wide variety of other sizes. And so we're going to be talking about all these different options because they have all special names. And just as a little bit of a preview, I have come up with a new, much more simple naming system that will help you understand sensor sizes and how to compare them and even how to choose lenses. And so that'll be coming up in the sensor section. The viewing system. This seems to be often underestimated by the beginning photographer how important it is. And in here, we're going to be looking at what type of lens and how you view with it. This is a SLR, so we have light coming through the lens, hitting the mirror, bounces upward onto a focusing screen, and I bet a lot of people here remember or have seen people shooting with old-fashioned cameras where they would look down, a Rolly twin lens, for instance, or a Hasselblad camera, and that's the system that they would use. But it can be fairly complicated tracking subjects because everything you're looking at is viewed in a mirror. And so we bounce the light up through a prism system on the modern day SLRs, and that's what you get to see through your viewfinder. So as you're shooting pictures, that's the view. Now, when you shoot a picture, that mirror needs to get up and out of the way so that light can get back to the image sensor. And the important thing to know is that when you take the picture, you can't see what you're shooting. So you have to be able to anticipate the moment by a little bit. So that's the viewing system, and there are other viewing systems we're going to go through. Another view through it, bounces up, creates a little image on the focusing screen. One of my first professional cameras, you could take the viewfinder off and use this as a waist level finder, which was kind of a neat option that they don't have. And so this is the SLR. It's been the choice of cameras, or the choice of professionals and serious photographers for about the last 50 years. It's just a very, very complete system because you get to see all the effects of what's going on in the lens. And so let's just kind of quickly review the advantages of the SLR system, which is still the dominant system among professionals and serious. You have a very, very clear view through the viewfinder. It's beautiful because you have a great lens and a very good prism system in there. It's really good for low light. If anyone likes to do nighttime photography, you can look through your camera and you get to use all the benefits of your own eyes right through the lens. And finally, it works very good with action photography because the mirror comes down and gives you a little, kind of it's a stroboscopic effect of your subject. If you're panning with the subject, if you're shooting really high-speed frame rates, it works quite well with action. Now, the main disadvantages of this SLR system is that the mirror and the mirror box housing take up a lot of space in the camera, and it forces the camera to be a bit larger in size. And looking through here, it's only a preview of what the image is going to be. It's not really a digital image, and that's why you have to check the back of the camera to see exactly how your camera digitally interpreted what you saw with your camera. And then finally, there is a lot of digital assistance that you can get on some newer cameras. I'm going to talk about this more when I get into the mirrorless cameras, but there's a number of very cool rangefinder features and what's called peaking. I'm going to show you some of that in a moment. That you can use with digital. And so this digital advantage is becoming more and more, and we're going to be seeing, I think, less SLRs in the long-term future. A lot of people have stated that the SLR is dead or dying, and not quite true, but I think they will be going away in the long term. This SLT is just used by Sony. It's a very minor system. It's not what I would consider hugely important, but just be aware that there are other systems out there where they use what's called a translucent mirror, which means it lets some of the light through. In fact, it lets about 2/3 of the light through to the sensor, and then it bounces 1/3 of the light upwards to a focusing system. And Sony went with this because they had a couple of different interesting things that they could do with it. One of the things is that you would have an electronic viewfinder, which would have these electronic focusing aids, which can be very handy and helpful in some situations. And the camera would receive autofocusing information 100% of the time, which in theory gave it a big advantage. So for the Sony SLT users out there, they have a very good continuous focusing system that works